Matt Kowalski's death is the emotional core of Gravity. Sandra Bullock's Ryan Stone, alone, traumatized, having just watched her partner sacrifice himself so she could survive. The film earned 7 Academy Awards partly on the strength of that scene, except the sacrifice was unnecessary. Kowalski didn't need to die. The physics that supposedly forced his decision doesn't exist. I'm not nitpicking. This isn't, well, actually, the ISS orbits at a different altitude than Hubble, or debris wouldn't cascade that quickly. This is Newton's first law, the most basic principle of motion taught in every high school physics class on Earth, being violated in plain sight. When Neil deGrasse Tyson watched Gravity, he famously tweeted praise for its technical achievements. But he also noted the scenario that compelled them to separate is not real physics. Astronaut Scott Kelly agreed.
You're not going to just crawl out and sit on land and say, boy, I had a long day. You know, I got in big trouble when I sent out some tweets about Gravity. I just thought people would be interested to know what they didn't get right. In fact, I didn't even say they got it wrong. I just said these were mysteries of the movie. Why is it that Sandra Bullock, a medical doctor, is repairing the Hubble Space Telescope? Excuse me, we don't send medical doctors to repair the Hubble Space Telescope.
Astrophysicist Katie Mack posted a detailed breakdown. The scene that made audiences cry? It's built on a physics error. Stone catches the cables of the ISS's parachute with her leg. Kowalski is tethered to her. They've both come to a stop relative to the station. Watch the scene carefully. They're clearly stationary. No movement, no drift. Just 2 astronauts floating in space, connected by a tether, at rest relative to their immediate environment. Kowalski says the tether will pull them both off. He unclips. He drifts away into the void. Stone screams, Kowalski dies. But wait, they're not moving. Nothing is pulling on them. They've stopped. The dramatic tension requires you to believe that Kowalski's weight is somehow dragging them both into space. Weight doesn't exist in orbit. An object at rest stays at rest unless acted upon by an external force. An object in motion stays in motion unless acted upon by an external force. This isn't obscure physics. This is week 1 of any mechanics course. Isaac Newton published it in 1687. It's been verified by every physics experiment ever conducted for over 3 centuries. If Kowalski and Stone have come to a stop, and visually they clearly have, then there is no force pulling Kowalski away from the station. The tether has tension only if something is accelerating them. Nothing is. In this situation, Stone could have simply pulled the tether, gently, one tug. In microgravity with no friction, Kowalski would have floated toward her with whatever velocity the pull imparted. She grabs him. They both live. Movie over in 45 minutes. The film's scientific advisor has argued that the astronauts still had residual momentum. They were still decelerating when Stone caught the cables. Maybe. But the scene doesn't show that. The visual language clearly communicates that they've stopped. The cables are slack before Kowalski unclips. If they were still moving, the film needed to show it. It didn't. If this changes how you see the scene, drop a comment. I want to know if the physics bothered you before this video. Here's where the social proof gets uncomfortable for the filmmakers. Chris Hadfield, former commander of the International Space Station, discussed the scene in interviews.
Violate the laws of physics when Sandra Bullock, she's on the end of the big Canadarm, the big robot arm, and it's tumbling, and she releases her little straps, and suddenly, whoo, she flies away in a whole new direction, like there was some force on Sandra that wasn't on the arm. Like, how come she...
His assessment, the physics is wrong. Once they're stationary, there's nothing to pull Kowalski away. Astronaut Garrett Reisman, who flew 2 space shuttle missions and spent 107 days on the ISS, made similar observations. The scene requires forces that don't exist in the depicted situation. These aren't armchair critics. They've actually been in orbit. They know what microgravity feels like, how tethers behave, how momentum works when there's no friction or gravity to complicate things. Alfonso Cuarón, the director, acknowledged in interviews that he prioritized emotional storytelling over strict physics. The sacrifice scene works dramatically. It just doesn't work scientifically. I want to be fair. Gravity is a technical achievement. Most of the physics is excellent. The debris cascade is real. Kessler syndrome, where one satellite collision creates debris that causes more collisions in a chain reaction, is a genuine concern at NASA. The agency tracks over 27,000 objects in orbit. The 90-minute orbital period shown in the film is accurate for the altitudes depicted. The silence of space is handled beautifully. When the shuttle is destroyed, we hear the impact through Stone's helmet. Vibrations transmitted through her suit structure, the rasp of her breathing. Then nothing. That's what space actually sounds like. Whatever your body transmits to your ears and nothing else. The fire extinguisher propulsion works. Point the nozzle in one direction, you accelerate in the opposite direction. Newton's third law. Simple and accurate. NASA engineers confirm this scene reflects genuine physics. Though controlling the tumble would be extremely difficult, the filmmakers consulted with NASA. They had advisors who knew the science. They got almost everything right. They just botched the most important scene. The scene could have worked with minimal changes. Here are fixes that would preserve the emotional impact while respecting physics. Option 1. Kowalski's suit is damaged. He's losing oxygen. Even if Stone pulls him to safety, he'll suffocate before they can get inside the station. He tells her to save herself, not because physics forces his hand, but because he's already dead. This creates genuine sacrifice without violating Newton. Option 2. The tether is about to snap. It's damaged from debris. Kowalski sees that pulling against it will break it entirely, sending them both drifting. He disconnects while Stone still has her grip on the station cables. The countdown becomes the tether's integrity, not imaginary forces. Option 3. They're still moving when Stone catches the cables, and the film makes this visually clear. The cables stretch taut. Stone's grip is slipping. Kowalski's mass creates real momentum that Stone's handhold can't arrest. He disconnects before the physics rips them both loose. This would require different cinematography, but it would work. Any of these preserves the emotional beat. Any of these respects Newton. The filmmakers chose to ignore the problem entirely. Here's the counterintuitive insight. Faking physics undermines drama. Space is terrifying enough without making things up. Real astronauts on real spacewalks know that a single mistake could send them drifting with no way back. That's why the safer backpack exists. A small emergency thruster that can arrest unexpected motion. The fear is real. The scenario in Gravity is genuinely plausible in many ways. Debris cascades could happen. An astronaut could find herself alone, running out of air, with no way to call for help. The survival challenges are authentic. When you build authentic fear and then resolve it with fake physics, you create a crack in the audience's trust. Some viewers won't notice consciously, but something feels off. The emotion doesn't quite land. Compare this to films that maintain physics consistency throughout. The Martian creates tension through real constraints. Orbital windows, air supply, communication delays. The physics isn't an obstacle to drama, it's the source of drama. Solutions feel earned because the problems are genuine. Gravity had real constraints available. It didn't need to invent fake ones. This error reflects a common Hollywood assumption. Audiences won't notice or won't care about physics accuracy. Some audiences don't. But the audiences who do notice become ambassadors or critics. Gravity's physics error became a meme in science communication circles. It's referenced in physics classes as an example of what not to do. The film's reputation among technically literate viewers is permanently marked by this scene. Meanwhile, films that respect physics earn passionate advocacy. Interstellar became a teaching tool. The Martian generated NASA outreach opportunities. Technical accuracy creates communities that champion your work. Gravity won 7 Oscars. It could have won 7 Oscars with accurate physics in the Kowalski scene. The fix costs nothing in production value. It just requires taking the science seriously. Imagine the corrected version. Stone catches the cables. Kowalski is tethered to her. They're both drifting, visibly, clearly, the cables stretching as Stone struggles to arrest their momentum. She can't hold on much longer. Kowalski checks his suit. Breach. Oxygen dropping. Even if she pulls him in, he has minutes. The math doesn't work. Let me go, Ryan. I can pull you in. My suit's gone. I'm gone. Use the time, he unclips. He drifts. She screams. He dies. Same emotional beat. Same sacrifice. Same performance opportunity for Clooney and Bullock. The only difference, the physics works. Gravity won 7 Academy Awards. Sandra Bullock deserved every nomination she received. The film remains one of the most visually impressive space movies ever made. But the Kowalski death scene violates Newton's first law. Objects at rest stay at rest. There was nothing pulling him away. A gentle tug would have saved his life. When filmmakers fake physics, they undermine their own drama. The real constraints of space are more frightening than anything Hollywood invents. You don't need to break Newton's laws to create tension. That's what Space Verum is about, separating movie physics from actual physics. Subscribe if you want to see more. And tell me in the comments, what movie physics mistake bothers you the most? The ones that come up repeatedly become future videos.